I'm Barry. This is October 16th, 2011, and this is my 7th official vlog. I recently received a letter from one of my viewers who wrote, and I quote, "Dear Barry, I think that you're very wise and I love your vlog. Could you please give some advice on what to do when someone's life falls apart, because my life is falling apart right now?" So, I've been thinking about this for a long time, and that's a very good question, because I think all the time that sometimes your life might fall apart. In fact, I think our lives are always falling apart, sort of in the way that when you think about a satellite that's in orbit, I don't know if you know this, but a satellite that's in orbit, it's always falling. It goes way up into orbit, and then the reason that it goes round and round and round the way it does is that it's always constantly in a state of falling. Think about that for a second. So, also, there's a scientific principle called entropy, E-N-T-R-O-P-Y, which you can look that up to get a really precise meaning. But if you think about the satellites falling and you consider entropy and you consider the fact that we're all going to die, even though that's not something that we really want to think about, particularly if you're young and you don't have to think about dying because you feel good, but you are. You're going to die. You're totally going to die one day. And so if you keep that in mind, then really everything's falling apart. And if you look at the news, which I do look at the news, and I resolved not to talk about politics or anything like that on my vlog, but if you look at the news, you could see that everything's falling apart, and that's all I'll say about that. But if you put all of that stuff into perspective, well, then if your life is falling apart, then now that's not so bad. Now, I know if you're really sick, or you have no money, or you don't really know where you're living, and your partner's mad at you, and everything doesn't seem like it's going well, thinking about satellites in orbit that are constantly falling, that's not really going to help. That's not what I'm trying to say. Some people just say, oh, your life is bad, but other things are bad, and so you shouldn't think about it. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to deflect. Some people deflect because they don't really want to talk about real things. They just want to talk about baloney, or they want to talk about what was on TV, or they want to talk about things that are not important at all. That's not what I'm trying to do. I think it's important that we have dialogue and that we talk about very real things all the time. So what I'm trying to say is that if your life is falling apart, well, I don't know what to tell you. That's what I'm trying to say, because that's something that, well, you have to figure out for yourself. And maybe you have spirituality, or maybe you have some breathing technique, or maybe you have some other way that you deal with how hard life can be sometimes, but you really can't expect anyone to help you. You have to find that inner strength within yourself. I'm sorry for distracting from the point that I'm trying to make, but that dog is coming and following me again, and it's very distracting. She's a nice dog. Anyway, I don't know if this has been helpful, but it's been sincere. I'm Barry, and this has been my vlog.